everybody, if you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if not, welcome back. My name is Freyleyce, and today's recommendation video is going to be romances filled with lots of tension and lots of angst. So I recently went through a little bit of a mood where I really wanted tons of romances with this, and I racked up some awesome recommendations. They're all really fresh, and they're all amazing, and they are also filled with a lot of tension and a lot of angst. I really love when books have like so much tension in them, and then somebody like says something and the tension like flares up and you're like, oh, and you get that little rush of butterflies, and it's just so good. So these books are hopefully going to give you that. I can at least say that they gave me lots of butterflies, and I totally felt the angst and the tension, and naturally it was a great time. So before we get into the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated from all the recommendations from me. Thank you guys so much, and let's get into the video. The first book in this recommendation video is actually going to be one that I read recently. I read it for my reading vlog. That is the last video on my channel because it was a new release from one of my favorite authors, and I was like, I'm so excited for this one. I've been waiting for it forever, and I need to read it. So that one was Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. Y'all, when I tell you that this book lived up to my hype for it, like, it was so fucking good. I'm obsessed with the cover. I bought it instantly because I was like, I need that right now. It is so pretty. The inside is so pretty. I saw snippets of it on Instagram from like the inside and the cover and all that, and I was like, I need it right now. So I bought it right then, and I love it. It's so beautiful on my shelf. Like, enough about the like actual look at the book. Let's get into the plot. So this follows Sawyer and Enzo. Sawyer is the heroine in this one. She is a little damaged. She's been through a lot. She has a bit of trauma, and she kind of runs around stealing people's identity to pay for her life because she's never really felt like at home. She's never really had a place to go to, never had a secure thing to hold on to in her life. So her and Enzo actually meet at the bar at the beginning of this, and they hook up, and I'm sitting there like, what is going on? This is so insta-lovey. Miss Carlton, what are you doing? And then she steals his identity, and and then they see each other later on, and he's like so pissed at her, and I'm just like, oh, the tension. First up, that tension just in itself was so good, but then he like coerces her to going on a boat ride with him, and she's kind of scared. She's like, oh, this dude is gonna be so pissed, because she doesn't fully know if he knows that she stole his identity yet, but she got some feelings. So they go on a boat ride, and then the boat capsizes, and they're stuck on an island with this creepy, crazy dude and ghosts, and they don't like each other. Enzo is pissed at her and kind of treating her badly, but she's very much a sunshine, and he's very much a grump. So she's like happy-go-lucky, and he's so pissed at the other guy that lives on the island that they're on because he's kind of into her, but also it's kind of like haunted and creepy, and she kind of has no regard for her personal safety, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't get killed. And he definitely doesn't like her, but he definitely likes her, if you know what I mean. So the tension in this one mixed with the spice and the thrills and the like kind of creepy parts. Like, this is based in Australia, but it was so fucking creepy. I was absolutely addicted reading this one. Like, it was so good. Truly, you guys, I got the butterflies, I got the tension, I got the angst mixed with grumpy sunshine and forced proximity. It was so good. So Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. It's a beautiful book, but it's like spicy, and it's thrilling, and it's got the tension, and it's definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. I am obsessed. Okay, so we're actually gonna have a few books from Q.P. Tyler in this video. The first one is gonna be Forget Me Not. This one, it might have had the most angst for me on this whole list. Like, I could feel the tension coming off the page, and it was just like so there, like, I swear to God. Okay, so this one follows Bennett and Olivia. They're actually married before this book takes place because this is a marriage in trouble, second chance kind of thing. So they are married, but he cheats on her kind of for no reason. And if you know me, you know I have like no issue with cheating as long as it's cheating to be with each other. And I had never really read a book before where they just like cheat to cheat. So this one pushed a little bit of new boundaries, but that being said, Bennett grovels so much that I just didn't give a fuck at the end. I was like, yeah, you guys are perfect for each other. So he cheats. Olivia then files for divorce, but Bennett gets in an accident a few months later, and he wakes up with like no memory of the past 2 years and no memory of him cheating on her. Like, so confused as to what's happening and why he's not like hugging her and kissing her in the hospital bed. So like, just there, like, as soon as he wakes up, he's like, Olivia, come kiss me, like, come sit with me, and she's like, that's not happening, Bennett. And he's like, what the fuck, why not? Oh my God. Yeah, the tension, I swear to God, it was so good. So try to stay on track here. He does need help after his injury, so they move back in together. It's forced proximity, there's so much tension and so much angst, and I just got lost in these pages. Like, it was so good. It was also a bit of a quicker book. I think it was like 300 pages, so not like that quick, but it felt quick, and it was just so good. There's a lot of groveling in this one, and I just cannot express how much tension and angst is in this one. Like, it's so fucking good. Like I said before, this one probably had the most angst on this. You also get to see some like flashbacks of them before. Yeah, I was absolutely in love with this one. So Forget Me Not is one of my recommendations from QB Tyler. My other one is Unconditional. This one follows Cal and Maddie, I believe. This one, like QB Tyler does, she has a lot of taboo elements, or at least forbidden, in her books. So this one is very taboo. It's a guardian ward trope, which means like Cal rescued Maddie when she was like 6 from a crime scene because he's like a cop, and then he raised her along with the help from his brother's wife, so his like sister-in-law, who I believe is also another cop. So he doesn't only raise her, he definitely has a lot of help from others, but they do fall in love. So this one is definitely not gonna be for some. It's taboo, it's forbidden, there's a big age gap, but I loved it. I have a thing for guardian ward tropes, which is kind of concerning considering my home life is pretty stable and this is never gonna happen to me. But either way, like I said, Cal rescues Maddie from a like crime scene in a kind of abusive home when she's like 6, and she instantly just has like this attachment to him. Like, she was gonna go into the foster system, but she doesn't want to. She wants to stay with Cal, so he's like, okay, I'll do it, but like, I'm not raising a 60-year-old girl all by myself. So he has help, they raise her together, and their lines don't get drawn until much later on when she is obviously a lot older and she makes the first move. I love books where the girl makes the first move and is the kind of the one like, you know, we both want this, and the guy's like, no, we can't, and then they do. Like, I love those books. So it's definitely consensual. Like, I had no issue with the age gap element of this. Like, yes, it was there, yes, it was very present, but I definitely thought that they were like so perfect for each other and really destined for one another, and it just made for some awesome tension, angst, and spice. Like, she's in high school when they get together, and so she kind of has like guys coming after her, and he's like super possessive and protective of her, and then he also gets set up by his family with another girl, and she gets super pissed, and like, yeah, so it has a lot of tension, it has a lot of angst between them. There's a lot of like forbidden moments together, and it's so good, and it's really fucking realistic. I love that about QB Tyler's books. She has some quite taboo books, this one included, but they're all so realistic. They really have that element of like, our family just found out, it's all going to shit, you know? So I really enjoy them. Both of my recommendations from her have so much steam, so much angst, so much tension, so much goodness, and I'm obsessed with them. So Forget Me Not and Unconditional are my two favorites from her, and I highly recommend them, especially the first one if you're looking for some tension and some angst. Okay, so the next one is another marriage and trouble kind of thing. This one is Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. I've actually recommended this one like 3 times already, and I only read it like 3 weeks ago, but I'm absolutely obsessed. This is another one where it was so good, and I knew straight away that I was like totally gonna love this one for a long time. So this one follows Jasmine and James, and they were actually together a few years before the book takes place, I think. It wasn't really a love-filled marriage. Like, it kind of felt like a marriage of convenience in the way that it was not like we met, we fell in love, and we want to get married. They kind of are forced into it. That part isn't like really fully explained, so I'm kind of unsure how to like say it, but yeah, they were in a marriage, they weren't happy, and I think Jasmine filed for divorce, and it's like 4 years later. Jasmine is kind of an outcast from her family, but she's finally got her life situated. She is a writer, and she's thriving, but then she hears that James's mom is in the hospital, so she goes to see him and doesn't realize that James will be there because James and his mom have not spoken in ages, but he is there, and they meet, and it's like, oh my god. But obviously they cannot stay at the hospital together, so they go back to his mom's house, and it's a snowstorm, and there's one bed, and I think we all know what happens. She sleeps on the floor, and then he like yanks her up onto the bed. That is what happens from my memories. So if that didn't like already describe to you the tension and the angst in this one, I don't know what will. Maybe reading the book will, so I think you should read the book. But yeah, it is so good. It's filled with so much tension, so much angst. James is definitely a bit of an anti-hero, and honestly I went back and forth on whether I like him or I hate him, but he's pretty hot, so I think it's probably the first one. But this one is a duet, or a series, actually, as the book says. But the second one, third one, fourth one is not out yet. It's just this one, and it was written in like 2019, so I have no idea when the next one's coming out. I feel like everybody should get a fair warning on that before you get into the book, because if you get to the end and then you realize like, what the fuck, this isn't completed and the next one isn't out, then it can be kind of annoying. So this one is filled with so much tension and so much angst. Them them together after this long is explosive, but I wouldn't quite say it ends in a happily ever after either. There is definitely a lot of arguing towards the end, and they get married again, and shit kind of hits the fan. So yeah, it is really, really good. There's so much tension, so much angst, but not a happily ever after, at least for me. I needed a bit more groveling from James and a bit more happiness from Jasmine before I got that. But either way, I really love it, and I really recommend it if you're looking for a tension-filled book with a lot of angst. This one is definitely a favorite of this year, and I just really love it, and I've already recommended it like 4 times. So yeah. The next one is going to be the Raven Hut Trilogy by Kate Stewart. I read the first book in this trilogy last November, I'm pretty sure, and it was so fucking confusing to me, and I wasn't in the mood for it, so I put it down. But then last May, I picked up the whole series again because I have it in paperback, and I absolutely loved it. This one is kind of an emotional wreckage ride. It is so good, and it's a bit of a like love square. It is not a reverse harem, and it does not have a happily ever after depending on who you are rooting for, but I was very satisfied with the ending. I thought it was great. But just know that if you're rooting for somebody, they may or may not be her endgame. So this follows Cecilia. I just realized I've never recommended this one before, which is crazy, but this one follows Cecilia. Her dad, who she's very estranged from, is the manager of a power plant in this small town, and people really do not like him, but she's trying to get her inheritance, and to get her inheritance, she has to work there for like a year, I think. So she starts working there, and she meets Sean. I always mess up saying that name because like to me it looks like Sean, but I think it's Sean. But either way, he's very like unique, I'll say that. He's got his like own belief system, and he's part of this like what may seem like a cult, but it's not really a cult. It's like a kind of, I don't know the word to say it. It's not a cult. It's not a secret society. It is not the mafia, but it's giving all of those things. So it's a little bit of like a group forms of like activists and people who want to take matters into their own hands, but it's not giving like terrorism. I thought that they had a good cause for this, and it wasn't just like rebel to be a rebel, you know? But yeah, he's different, and he's not what she's accustomed to, and they fall fast and hard. And she also gets involved in another guy, one of his friends, and she has like the time of her life, and then something happens, and then something happens, and then something happens, and then something happens, and then more things happen. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I truly think you need to go in blind for this one. I don't want to give anything away other than like she meets 3 guys, and one of them is her endgame. But there is a lot of tension between them all, particularly her endgame. They kind of go through a few books together, and it's, I'm really trying hard not to give anything away. They have a time where they don't like each other, and then a time where they are like in love with each other, and so there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of angst, and they don't really get together until the very end of book 3. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That is all I'm gonna say. But while I was reading this one, particularly the second one, there was so much tension and heartbreak and angst, and I was like literally drowning in it. So I definitely recommend this one if you're looking for a series that's like fucking emotional and will damage you. Just kidding. It was a really beautiful series. Like, these books are so well written that it's like emotionally moving and really fucking beautiful. So this one is Exodus. That is book 2. That's where the heartbreak goes down. Like, oh my god. I'm not gonna say any more about it, but I think you should read it. It is really good, but just be like emotionally prepared and shit. Okay, the last one. I've recommended this one also in a few of my last videos, but it is perfect for this video and for this trope, so I had to do it. That one is Heartless Hero by Mary Catherine Gebhard. This is a second chance friends to lovers bodyguard romance, second chance enemies to lovers, and it's so good. So Abigail meets Theo when they are younger. She sees him on the side of the street when she's like looking for someone to hire, and is like, him, I want him. And if I remember correctly, there's like a reason why she does that, but I don't really remember the reason right now. But she works for him, and they definitely fall in love. It's friends to lovers. It's super sweet. And then something happens. He gets sent away, but he's back as her bodyguard, and he really fucking hates her because she kind of did something in typical Abigail Crown style, because she's a bit of a bitch, and Theo is so pissed at her and gives her hell. So there's so much tension between them because they were in love with each other once, but now they hate each other, but they don't know if they hate each other or if they love each other. And obviously they figure that out, and they love each other. Spoiler warning. Just kidding, that's like not a spoiler. It's happily ever after, it says so. But yeah, there is so much tension between these two because the hate mixed with the bodyguard forced proximity mixed with a second chance. Like, how can that not be so much tension and so much angst? They were throwing some hits at each other because they know each other's like deepest, darkest secrets, and I was like, oh damn, and then you could like feel the tension and the hurt and the love in some things Thea would say, and I'd be like, Abigail, just be nice to him. And then sometimes he'd be such a fucking dick to Abigail. I'd be like, Theo, be nice to her. But yeah, it is definitely a wild ride. The Crown family, who is Abigail's family, is so fucking toxic and so fucking like elite and all powerful, and they're so dramatic. Like, they're so fucking dramatic. This book is packed full with drama, toxicity, and it's a wild ride. So if you think you're ready for that and you're ready for some like friends to lovers, second chance, enemies to lovers, then I highly recommend this one. It is enemies to lovers, but it's a bit more bully romance in my opinion. I don't really classify a lot of things as enemies to lovers, but this one, it does give enemies to lovers. It's just a bit of bully as well. So everybody, there is my long-awaited tension-filled and angsty book recommendations. I've had a few videos now where people were asking for this trope recommendation, so I finally got around to doing it. I hope you can add some new angsty and tension-filled books to your TBR. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, all my links are in the description for my Instagram, my Goodreads, my wish list, and my business email. Thank you guys for your support, and I will see you in my next video very soon.